Like the AI is just giving you constant feedback. Oh, that's a great.
All right, we're live.
You should totally turn right at that junction.
We're good? 70% sure. All right, we'll just hang tight till we're 100% sure.
The Garmin bike computer, not a good one to build mounts on.
Yeah.
It thinks I'm Tadej Pogacar. Like,
Really?
It's like, your ghost finished 6 hours ago.
Okay, I think we are live. Welcome, everybody. The 2025 Gorge Waterfalls presented by Speedland. We are broadcasting live from Gorge's Beer Co. A big thank you to them for their hospitality this afternoon and throughout race weekend. We've got an all-star panel that we're going to kick things off with here momentarily. But before we do, just have to give a few big thank yous. Of course, first, the team behind the scenes. Ryan Thrower on the ones and twos, and Jacob Meyer, our man. Jacob, please raise your hand. I would like to recognize you. Coming out of the woodwork to help us out here this week. Big thank you to our partners at Daybreak Racing. Obviously, the only way we could be sitting here in a brewery, broadcasting, talking with these amazing elite professional athletes is because there is a team actually doing the hard work, setting up the staging area down in Marine Park, just a few steps away from where we sit, and it is raining right now. So big shout out to Daybreak Racing. Our real race director, Jeremy Long, will be joining us in studio here for a little RD update here after we dismiss the pros. After we talk to Jeremy, we are going to do a quick preview of tomorrow's race, the 30K. So if you're new to the Gorge Waterfalls, whether you're here in studio with us or watching on YouTube, it is a 3-day trail running festival here in Cascade Locks, Oregon, which is a PCT trail town. Cascade Locks is a trail town to the core, the perfect place to celebrate our event. And the 30K will kick things off tomorrow at 10 a.m. The 100K, which all of these athletes are going to be running on Saturday, starts at 5 a.m. down in Marine Park, and then we close things down on Sunday with the 50K. I'm going to introduce our panel here in just a second, but before we do, I want to show everybody everything because this is going to be a fun little storyline throughout race weekend. We all know about Western State's golden tickets, right? I was on a run with my friend Patty O'Leary a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about how strong the competitive start list is here at the Gorge Waterfalls 100K. Of course, these athletes are going to be competing for spots on Team USA in September's Long Trail World Championship, except for Jade. We'll get to that in a second. So we thought it would be fun to make red, white, and blue tickets that these athletes will be competing for this weekend. An homage to the Western States golden tickets. So those are going to be on offer this weekend for, potentially some people that are on the panel with us here today. But maybe we'll start with Jade because, as I mentioned, introducing Jade Belzberg here. Big round of applause. Canadian. Jade is a Canadian. So you are not here to earn a spot on Team USA. So why come to the Gorge Waterfalls?
I mean, I love Pacific Northwest races. I've never been out in this area. I'm excited to see the trails. I know that it's going to be super competitive. Yeah, I still want to be here.
So, but you are going to be on Team Canada already. You earned your spot, I think, both in the vertical and the up-down event.
Yeah, I chose to do, I won Squamish 50K, so I'm doing the short course and the VK.
So you basically have qualified, if you wanted to, for almost every distance at the World Championship for Team Canada if you wanted to. But you're going to do the vertical and the short trail.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, it'd be pretty terrible.
Congratulations.
To do more than that. Thank you.
It makes me want to ask, where you view your strength as an athlete right now, because you just won Chuckanut a couple weeks ago. So obviously you're good at verticals, you're good at sort of short distance. Obviously you're here to run a long race in 100K. Where do you view your biggest strength right now? It seems like you sort of have a lot of range in your arsenal.
Thanks. I probably have the most experience at the 50K distance. I certainly enjoy that distance. I like VKs, I like sub-ultras. I've done a couple 100Ks and several 100-milers, and I don't feel like I've nailed those distances, so there's a lure kind of pointing me towards longer distances at this point.
You'll have another chance here on Saturday. Sitting next to you, Jeff Colt from Carbondale, Colorado. Big round of applause for Jeff Colt. You represented Team USA way back in 2022, the year that our friend Adam Peterman took home an individual World Championship, and you guys brought home a team gold medal.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Got to run with Team USA in Chiang Mai, Thailand. Got to be kind of the third scorer behind Adam and Eric Lapuma to help Team USA secure the long trail or 50-mile, kind of 80K distance victory. And that's one of the main reasons I'm back here this time.
So you just posted just a few hours ago about how that was like the singular best experience of your professional trail running journey. At least that was my interpretation of your post. Share a little bit more about what made competing for Team USA so fun in 2022.
Yeah, I would put that and winning cross-country states for NHIAA in 2008. Manchester, Dairyfield Park. Those being the two pinnacle races I've had so far, and both of those were team races. And I think there's something that I can definitely pull out of myself when I'm competing with the team for something bigger than myself. And in Chiang Mai, I have this like distinct memory. Like Adam won the whole race, won by enough that he helped us secure the team victory in a huge way. He was far enough ahead of me that I was actually starting a loop while he was finishing it. And I remember seeing him and actually like hearing him like, kind of like hype himself up, and it got me so hyped up, and I was like cramping for 25 miles straight, and all I could think about was like, the team needs this. Like seeing the Team USA reps out there like cheering me on, I was like, everything I'm feeling right now is like insignificant. Yeah. Getting to the finish line as quickly as possible, ahead of France, Spain, Italy, like that was what was important. And I still want that feeling again. Yeah,
take that, Europe. 2022 was a good year, thanks to Peterman and Jeff Colt. Moving along, Klaire Rhodes from Alaska. All the way from Alaska. You were second behind Jade at Chuckanut just a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago or so. Maybe share a little bit about what brought you to Gorge and whether or not this Team USA possibility is something that inspires you.
Yeah, definitely Chuckanut followed by Gorge. 100K was the plan from early on in the year. I've been wanting to step up in distance for a long time. This is my first 100K. It's my first race over 50K. And it just felt like the stars aligned. I have been interested in coming to Gorge, and then it just made it perfect that it was a Team USA qualifier as well. So making Team USA wasn't my like first reason for doing this, but would definitely be a big perk. I'm also planning on racing Broken Arrow. I was on the 40K short trail team in Innsbruck in 2023. So I'm kind of going to see where I land and hopefully can find my way back on Team USA in one distance, or we'll see. Yeah. But yeah, never been to these trails, so super stoked to be here and see what I can do in doubling my distance PR. So,
what made this the right time to step up in this distance for you? Because you're still very young and in the early phases of your professional career. What made it 2025 feel like the right year to step up?
Yeah, I don't know. For the past 2 years, I was planning on racing Lake Sonoma 50 mile, and just both lead-ups, I got a little injured and had to pull out. So I think I was maybe just a little frustrated from that and just wanted to make it to a start line of something long, healthy. And so that just came to be. And I love the Pacific Northwest, love being at sea level, not in the heat. So it's perfect.
Feels like Alaska.
Yeah.
Bit. Yes. Awesome. Yeah. It's great to have you here. And Trace Knopp, who's in the back, is also one of the favorites in the men's race, too. So that's Klaire's partner. So the Alaskans coming in force here this weekend. Shout out Trayson. Jon Rea, my guy from Boulder, Colorado. Welcome to the Gorge Waterfalls race. You've had a great start to your season. Before we got started here, you and I were chit-chatting. You said that as soon as 2025 hit, seems like things have been clicking. You won the Red Hot 55K. You were second at the Run Through Time Marathon. Share a little bit about what has made 2025 feel like it's off to a good start.
Yeah, last year I felt like I only tried to do the biggest races. I was going to do Black Canyon, Western States, CCC, only the big ones, and just like take big shots and go for big wins. But I think that was not the most fun way and the best way for me to prepare for being the best athlete I can be. So doing a couple smaller local races just reminds me how to race a little bit I could pay attention to different cues and learn from those experiences without the same level of stress at a big event, where sometimes if you go overcorrect on something and it overwhelms you too much, you can't actually get anything out of it. So did those couple of early season smaller local races, didn't have to fly anywhere, could just go a couple hours away and still race against decent competition. I mean, I still had to run around like Jeshrin Small. He's been top 5 at OCC before. Yeah. So not hard to find that, even with local races in the Front Range. But yeah, through those couple of preseason races, they went as I wanted them to. I learned what I got what I wanted out of them. Learned how to manage stress, practice things, and that with just consistent training has been really fun. It's been great.
It's really interesting. I like the way you said that. But I mean, you're obviously no stranger to the big stages. You've won golden ticket events. You've been top 10 at Western States. I think you were 4th at CCC. And it seems like one thing missing from your resume is, this Team USA conversation. You and I were chatting beforehand. You said, yeah, I mean, I would really like to do that. So maybe share your feelings on, because at least in my history in the sport, it feels like, especially in these last 2 world championships, being included in Team USA and just the execution of the world championship itself, it feels like it's taken on greater resonance. So just speak a little bit about, if you're here for the red, white, and blue ticket, how you're thinking about Team USA.
Yeah, 100% I'm here for a ticket. I would love to make the World's team. My initial inspiration for the sport was Western States, and maybe that's because of the figures in the sport there and the stories being told about the race. And so, World Championships wasn't as much of a high-profile event, and there weren't as many stories around it just because it wasn't a thing a few years ago when I was getting into it. And so I felt like I was behind in even thinking about it as an opportunity or an important event until watching these guys do it, and the feelings that they expressed that they had at the race made me just realize how much I wanted to do that too. And yeah, it's the coolest thing ever to wear a Team USA jersey. So awesome. That would be a dream.
Yeah, you grew up like a baseball kid, right? It's like the equivalent of being on Team USA at the World Baseball Classic or something?
Yeah, which is also less important than winning the World Series or playing in the MLB. So it's it was always the side thing, not that important. Yeah. But maybe if it's becoming a bigger thing, then it would be actually more meaningful now than it used to be.
Coming around to Adam Peterman, your 2022 Long Trail World Champion in the house here. Big round of applause for Adam Peterman. Not to embarrass you too much. Maybe share a little bit about your memories from that, what significance it held in your career, and then maybe we'll talk a little bit about the build through the season.
Yeah, totally. Thanks, Dylan. I think Colt had a really good story of just how our team was at that week in Chiang Mai. And I felt like 2022 was kind of like a big year for me. First time I took a big swing at these longer races, like Western States and Canyons and Worlds. And so to finish the year by winning Worlds as an individual and a team was just so sweet. Really didn't expect it. That was a huge reason for coming here when I saw that you guys were a selection, or top 2 would get the red, white, and blue ticket, which is sweet. So that was a big part of it. And then I'm running Western States again this year. And, I think it's important to do a big race before that race, whether it's 50-mile or something longer like that. And so this just checked a lot of boxes. It's only 7-hour drive from where I live in Missoula. I've always loved driving through this area. I mean, it's really, really cool. So I feel like it just checked so many boxes. I couldn't pass it up.
So maybe build off what you're mentioning here about the greater season, right? Because Western States obviously is a world championship level race on its own. Of course, Gorge here is not only an opportunity to get on Team USA, but it's also a tune-up for Western States. So maybe you could just talk about the greater mosaic of how you're visualizing your season right now.
Yeah,
and how Gorge plays into it.
Totally. Yeah. If everything went according to plan and it was ideal, I would run Gorge, 100K, Western States, and then I'm into CCC right now, but I believe I'm able to drop down to OCC, and then it would be run Worlds 80K. Which I think would be sweet. I mean, when I think of the most competitive races in the world for ultra, it's UTMB, majors, Worlds, and Western States. And so if you could do all 3 of those and do well at any of those, I mean, that's a great season. And then I felt like Gorge fit really well into that, just with tune up for Western States. But you never know. you could run Western States and be totally fried and have to pivot everything, you know? So that's like the plan right now, but I could totally be looking back at this interview, just seeing how so wrong I was.
Yeah. First things first, I guess. But it's always fun to dream and plan.
Yeah.
Coming back to you, Jade. You had an awesome run at Chuckanut 3 or 4 weeks ago now. You came absolutely blasting past me like 10 miles into the race or so. You were in third place at that point, eventually won in very tough conditions. Maybe just share a little bit about that event and maybe how any like confidence or fitness it provided for the longer race this weekend.
Yeah, Chuckanut was pretty wild weather-wise, certainly. I felt a little bit more like I was relying on past experience at like 100-mile races almost, just because it felt more like a race of attrition rather than like the fast 50K I was kind of expecting and honestly wanting. It's kind of hard to say going into this race. I mean, I felt very fit coming into Chuckanut. Chuckanut didn't really feel like an example of that fitness because of the conditions. So it'll be interesting, I think on Saturday, yeah.
But it proved toughness and the ability to, you know, at least avoid mistakes, right? Because the two women who were in front of you was Claire DeVoe and Sarah Beal, who both ended up dropping out based on, you know, complications with weather and getting cold and things like that. Mm-hmm. So obviously you didn't make those similar mistakes, I guess. And also winning at Chuckanut is a big deal. So it probably does at least give you some confidence for the longer events.
Yeah, it does. And I think it gives me confidence having run on very similar or somewhat similar trails. And then coming out here 3-4 weeks later, I feel like it's sort of the same, just double the distance.
Awesome. We're so glad you're here.
Thank you.
Jeff Colt. I was talking to Corinne Malcolm, your coach. Corinne Malcolm coaches this guy, FYI. Actually, she just texted me. She said, "You've got my favorite people on the panel here this afternoon." So shout out Corinne. She couldn't make it here today. But I know you have posted about, you know, the fact that last year was sort of really hampered by injury. This season's off to a good start. You were, I think, 5th at the Black Canyon 50K, had a nice marathon at Chianti. Maybe share about coming through that injury process and how the season's started off for you.
Yeah, 2024 was an interesting one. I think I bit off a lot of big life happenings, like getting married and buying a house and a lot moving all at once. And to expect that I could still perform at a high level in running, I think was maybe just too much. So I did kind of deal with injury most of last year. And it's like the week after I got married, there was an athlete summit in Portland for On. And I like ran the entire week feeling good, and I've run every week since feeling good, and feel like stress might have been a big part of why I was not feeling good. But this year, talking to Corinne, you know, I think in November when around the time I learned that Gorge was going to be the selection race for Worlds, it's like my focus race in 2025 is World Championships, so Gorge needs to be the next most important race of the year. And if I'm going to make it to Worlds, I need to peak for Gorge. And we kind of looked at like what are some races to try to push myself a little faster. Black Canyon 50K. I also got humbled by Jesherin Small. He is on a absolute heater.
Yeah.
But that was a great start of the race of like, all right, this is what it's like to run, you know, 6-minute pace in the desert for a long period. And going over to Chianti was also humbling and really fun, just running against some of the best 50K runners in the world on really muddy, like slick, hilly terrain, and feel like I'm showing up here with 2 really great like training stimulus under my belt, training stimuli, and I also am up here with some of my favorite people, and like equally as excited about getting to share the course with some of the other runners here.
Have you built back some of that confidence that we sometimes lose during seasons of injury?
Yeah, I think got to look at like 36 weeks of consistent training and like 2 workouts a week and stand on that and believe in the work that's been done. And this is an opportunity to express both fitness and a love for this sport, and hopefully, get the opportunity to represent USA again.
Stand on that. Love it. So, Klaire, like I said, you were second behind Jade at Chuckanut just a few weeks ago. So maybe you could share your side of that story also, and maybe how it's been part of your build towards Gorge this weekend, especially training through the winter in Alaska. Would love to learn more about that.
Yeah. I think similar to Jade, the weather ended up being pretty wild, and it didn't end up being maybe the fitness check-in that I was hoping for, just because there was a lot of other variables going on. Still ended up being a day I was happy with, but I mean, I feel like the cold just limited my output in a lot of ways. I think we all kind of felt like that. But anyways, it was still a good day. Really happy to have that training day, race day under my belt coming into 100K to give me that confidence, because I wouldn't necessarily do a 50K maybe in training, especially that would have been hard at home in Alaska. To pivot onto that, we've had a pretty low snow year up in Anchorage and South Central Alaska. That's relative. There's still a lot of snow up in the mountains, so it's not like our trails are dry, but it has lended itself to maybe a better winter for running than usual, not waking up every other day to feet of snow out of my door. So that's nice. And just easier to justify getting out for a run instead of a really fun day of backcountry skiing in the mountains or something. But typically I wouldn't recommend training for 100K in the spring in Alaska. Yeah.
Is there anything that you've done differently as you step up in distance, especially training through the winter? I mean, are you doing longer workouts? Are you relegated to the treadmill sometimes? Practically, how have you put the pieces together?
Plenty of treadmill time, plenty of repeating pretty much the same 3 dry trails or roads that are available to me, but really training hasn't looked that different. And it's hard for me to really, when Chuckanut hadn't happened yet, that was the forefront thing in my mind, and I kind of have a hard time moving past the next race on the calendar until getting through that. So that was very much the focus, and now looking back, I can look at it as a training stimulus. But really my training didn't look that much different, other than kind of perfectly placing Chuckanut in the middle of the block. So no, I'm hurling myself into the unknown on Saturday, that's for sure.
Jon Rea, same question to you. Speak a little bit about the training you've put in through the winter months and how maybe specifically you've been building things towards the race on Saturday.
Maybe in contrast to Alaska, I think winter training in Boulder has been pretty easy this year. Every time we've gotten to snow, it's been really warm right afterwards. So I feel like I've spent single-digit days running in snow, just a couple days on the treadmill. So it's been pretty easy to run through the winter on mostly dry trails. Got to come out here and do one training camp after the Hoka Athlete Summit. Teammates Adam and Rod came with me, and so we got to check out the course.
Everybody forwarded me. These guys were posting stories, running on the Gorge course. It was Jon Rea, Adam Peterman, Rod Farvard. I'm like, oh, gosh.
Yeah, watch out.
Watch out. The Strava leaderboards are going down. Yeah.
It was all casual. We didn't get too competitive. We'll save that for Saturday.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been really consistent. I'm working with Jason Coop. A year ago, I was working with Adam St. Pierre, and he threw a lot more interesting curveballs at me. I feel like he shaped me and had helped me get some more breakthroughs to open my mind to things that I could do. And he would show, just more eclectic training, I suppose, just random things that would just throw me off and open my eyes to what was possible. And with Coop, it's definitely been a little more straightforward, professional. We're just putting in the work, and that's what's going to get you better at this point. And so it's just got to more just executing.
Yeah. So I'm reminding myself, you're also in at Western States. You were 9th last year. You ran 15:10.
15:13 is what I remember.
So you and Adam both already have that opportunity. Your spots are already secured there. So maybe same question I asked to Adam about the greater picture of the season when you were putting pen to paper about your goals this season. How were you thinking about each of these things independently?
Yeah, I hope States is my goal race for the foreseeable future. I want that to happen for as long as possible.
Yeah.
Not going to get tired of it, I don't think.
3 finishes, right?
What, sorry?
3 finishes
Yeah,
there?
3 so far. Not sure I'll get to Casey Lichtig. But but yeah, so I guess I was less interested in doubling with UTMB CCC again this year. And so if I wasn't going to do that, then definitely World Championships was the next thing to do. And so when that timeline was announced, then I was just praying that the qualifier for World Champs was going to not conflict with states. And so luckily it's now. So
There it is.
Good timing.
Awesome. So glad you're here. Peterman, tell us a little bit about your training. One of the things I think is interesting is, like, you haven't raced since CCC, right? So it's been 7 months. So, I mean, Jon was saying, you know, it's often nice to just knock a little rust off. You haven't really done that going into this weekend. So speak about just that 7-month hiatus and how you're feeling in your fitness going into Saturday.
Yeah, I did. I did do a local 50K in Missoula in October. It was called City to Sky, but really cool 50K race on our local trails. And then I tried to go for the rim to rim to rim FKT. So I did have like a true training block for that. I wasn't even close to Jim's time. The attempt pretty much fell apart. Like, I haven't DNF'd a race, but I would essentially call it a DNF. Like, I did finish rim to rim to rim, but I don't know. It was a sad
It's
showing.
impossible to DNF that.
Yeah,
Unless you get a ride out on
Unless
a mule
you get
or
the
something.
mule or helicopter. But
You got to survive it.
yeah. So anyway, I did have a little bit of a training block up until about November, and then no, it's been great. Like, long base training phase through Missoula, which was kind of like a hybrid of road running and skiing. Like, we did actually have a pretty decent winter, and I like that. I mean, a lot of backcountry skiing, Nordic skiing, and then a lot of road running on top of it. But I'd say the last 8 weeks, 10 weeks has been mostly running focused, and yeah, it's been really good. And I've enjoyed training for Gorge. You know, a little less climbing than I usually do, a little more speed, and yeah, it's been great. I think that's been a good mix for the spring.
Really? So, I mean, I saw you posted that you're doing your patented Sentinel flat workout. So for our audience here, time trials a local peak, then comes down and does flat speed work. Has that been a staple in your rotation here leading into Gorge, or what have you been focusing on specifically?
I did one Sentinel flat workout, more road workouts than normal. And kind of like Jon said, just like sticking to consistently working out, like once a week, twice a week I'll work out, but I work out like short once a week. And that's new for me. Like, I kind of relied on my D1 collegiate fitness, I think, for years, but that was kind of a long time ago now. Yeah. And so, I think just standard stuff, you know, like 5 by 8 minutes, or even this week I did do a Sentinel workout, like 3 minutes really hard up the ridge, 1 minute hike, 3 minute hard, and then until I got to the top. So just stuff like that, but keeping it really consistent. Yeah, and then one Sentinel flat workout, but it wasn't as good as the one when you filmed last year.
Because I was chasing you with the camera, man. It makes everybody faster.
Yeah.
I'm still banged up from that. It was like a year and a half ago.
Yeah, I think I used all my energy on that instead of canyons.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, buddy. Okay, I want to close with just a general question for each of you. You contribute. Maybe we'll start on that end too, because I know your answer already. But just sort of give a shout out to the person who's going to be in your corner this weekend, crewing you. The forecast keeps getting better, but originally it was looking like it might be touch and go. So just give a shout out to the people who will be braving the elements to hand you your bottles and gels before we let you guys go.
Yeah, it's going to be my fiance, Erin Clark.
They just got engaged. Big round of applause.
Yeah, thanks. We were dating for like 7 years, so it was time. But Aaron, and then my parents are coming too, so I'll have a great crew.
Awesome. Jon Rea.
Yeah, my partner Rachel is here with me. Rachel Rea.
Yeah, Rachel.
Already made her work a little bit harder than normal today, but appreciate her a lot.
Awesome. Klaire?
Tracy and I are both going to be crewed by a good friend of ours and local legend Connor Deal, who's racing the 30K tomorrow, a fellow Alaskan. So, yeah, appreciate him getting up early and shuffling our stuff around.
Shout out Connor. Is he here?
No? Not in building.
Okay. He sent me a message or something recently saying Alaska's coming in hot.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Alaska represent. Jeff Colt?
I've got my dad, who goes by the name Race Day Rick, coming
he
to
in the
support
building?
me. He's flying in
Make sure I
tomorrow.
meet him this weekend.
Yeah, as well as my stepmom Diana, and then friends and family at home supporting from afar. So feel good.
Awesome. Last but not least, Jade.
Yeah, my husband Nicodemus will be crewing me, and my dad's going to be following the live stream.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Nicodemus is running the 50K on Sunday
is,
too.
yeah.
So a lot of different ways to enjoy Gorge Waterfalls. A big round of applause for our lead athlete panel from the 100K. Very grateful that each of you would come to our race and battle over these red, white, and blue tickets, except for you. But we're very glad that you're coming too, representing the entire country of Canada. So thank you guys for coming. Next up, Jeremy Long, our race director. Please come up to the stage here. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Oh, should we bring Aaron up too?
That's your call.
Yeah, that works. Actually, sit in that one. Better, because then you got that camera. You don't want to come talk? Okay. Yeah, right. With thrower? Yeah.
It's up to you.
Okay.
It's your show, bro.
This is our race director, Jeremy Long from Daybreak Racing, everybody. Before you guys walked in, as we were introducing the elite athlete panel, I made the comment that the only reason that Ryan and Jacob and I are able to sit here in the warm brewery just talking about trail running is because you guys were out in the rain setting everything up. So thank you, first and foremost.
You can thank me, and then I will thank the rest of my team because I was inside setting up the coffee while the rain started.
Okay. Delegation. Every good boss needs to learn how to delegate. And you are the boss. Jeremy, maybe just first remind people how it came to be that Freetrail and Daybreak were going to team up on Gorge Waterfalls. This is our fourth time doing it together.
Yeah, it's almost like reaching back, trying to think about that again. Yeah. But it actually does go back a ways because you still lived here when that happened. We were all living in Portland, and you guys, I think you were still pillars officially when Ryan and I really started chatting. And we met up at one of our Mount Hood races, and you guys did some cool coverage there. And, Daybreak was still growing at the time, shortly after COVID, and we had a lot of good ideas and things, and we'd connected really well with you and Ryan and Harmony. And Ryan brought up the idea to you, I think, initially, and then he talked to me about, why don't we have a race? It'd be so fun. And then we chatted about it. He connected with me, and I was like, okay, but where? And because we already had half a dozen races at that point, and he's like, well, the Gorge, obviously. And I was like, well, there's already a race there, but it hasn't been able to happen because of the Gorge fires in 2017. So we would have to do some chatting, and long story short, it all came to fruition of we were able to basically buy the race that existed previously as Gorge Waterfalls. It started back in 2011, and then we kind of gave it our own. We totally put it in the blender, and we changed the staging area to a place that we wanted to be at, and reformatted the courses, and all the trails had been rehabilitated from the fire, essentially, and we're open for the first time again in 2022. And we got an approval in like December of 2021 and flashed, made that mega announcement. Gorge Waterfalls is coming back spring of 2022.
Yep.
And it sold out in a week or whatever, and here we are.
Yes. Thank goodness. And I think it was you and Ryan who originally conspired about it. I said, no way. We're not getting into races. And I slowly became persuaded.
Yep.
And then our first time ever buying anything, and it certainly gave me some anxiety, and now it's the highlight of the year. Maybe you share a little bit about, this is our fourth year doing it. You've mentioned a few of the things that we changed from the first chapter of Gorge Waterfalls history, but as the real race director, you guys are always tinkering and looking for ways to improve it. How has the race maybe evolved in 2025 versus some of the previous years, and what makes it easier or harder as we gain experience?
Yeah, I think I should say that a lot of it has to do with buy-in, with land managers especially, and just the partners within the community of Cascade Locks, with our staging area folks, with the port down in Marine Park, and then once they kind of, put their toe in the water and kind of give us that initial yes the first year, see it go well, and then that kind of opens the opportunity up for growth and incremental, responsible growth. Can we bump up our daily cap to X? Because we have the capacity. We're staged in a city. It's not a parking lot trailhead. So I think that's just having that intentional, incremental growth, making sure that that we're responsible to all of our partners and permitting agencies, and just creating that full circle, requesting far in advance. We execute well, we close the loop, make sure that everybody's satisfied in terms of the land managers. We haven't damaged any of the trails or left garbage everywhere, or I should say damaged the lawn at the finish line, but that did happen in 2023. Yeah. But anyways, I think that's probably the basis of from where we started with 250 runners a day, 2 days. We added the 30K the second year for a 3-day event, and then now we're at a pretty big event. We've got 1,300 runners.
Yep.
And it's been sold out for months, so pretty excited about that.
Amazing. So maybe give the race director update. We've spent the last 2 days out marking the course. Tell the runners about the course conditions, any details on aid stations that are important. Maybe also talk about the fact that there's no pacers in the 100K this year.
Sure. With part of, going back to, I guess, speaking specifically about the 100K, as the event has grown, it's always the first of the 3 distances at Gorge Waterfalls to sell out. People are always planning farther ahead for a longer distance. And one of our compromises that we had to make with the Forest Service, since a good chunk of the race itself, but especially that last 10 miles from Cascade Locks aid station to Wyeth, and then that last bit back is an out and back. We've got a race with 450 people on it. That's a lot of congestion. Yeah. And if we double that by allowing pacers, it gets a little unpleasant for folks, especially towards the back of the pack. Yeah. And we got consistent feedback about that over the last couple of years. So it's 100K. It's not a 100-miler. So I think people can make do without pacers.
See yourself through.
Yeah.
Yes. You can do it.
And there's crew access at all those aid stations, especially on the back half of the course. So we feel like the support's there. We've got really great Freetrail Pro members are sponsoring the Wyeth aid station for the 4th out of 4th year. Yep. Cascade Locks aid station is hosted by
boys, we call them.
Cascade Locks aid station's always been held down by Yassine Daboon's group, Weiss Wolfpack, and he'll be out there with his tuxedo again, I'm sure. So just lots of really cool support to make sure everybody gets through.
One thing I'd love to get your contribution on that I mentioned at the top of the show is Cascade Locks being a trail town to its core.
Oh man.
Maybe for the in-person and digital audience, people who maybe it's their first time here or they've never been to Cascade Locks, what makes it a special place for trail people?
Yeah. So even though it's kind of a disorienting place to be, because we're at like 50 feet elevation here, right? But we're also on the Pacific crest of the Cascade Mountains, which, if you go that way 10 miles, the snow is 15 feet deep. Yeah. A few thousand feet up. So we're at sea level basically, but it's a mountain town. Yeah. So it gets, pretty heavy winters, and the summers are windy and crazy through the gorge. But it's the hub of the Pacific Crest Trail for folks that are mostly going northbound through California and Oregon. You can see the bridge right over there. That's the Pacific Crest Trail into Washington.
The Bridge of the Gods.
The Bridge of the Gods.
That's the exit from Oregon and the entrance to Washington for the northbounders.
So a lot of the businesses here, their summer season is catering to the through hikers and the festivals that take place at the same venue that we have the race at. They do Pacific Crest Trail Days, with big retail thing. And it's a trail town for sure. And we've been fortunate that they've embraced this event too, and love seeing all the runners come running down the sidewalk into the park through town. So it's cool.
Yeah, and shout out Gorge's Beer Co. I'm sure they greet and rehydrate a lot of weary travelers from the trail throughout the summer months.
For real.
Maybe you could close down by just giving some shout outs to the army of volunteers who are going to be making things possible for us this weekend, and also like Trail Keepers of Oregon, the people who took care of these trails.
First and foremost, this is our biggest event by far from all of our lineup. But it's also the most well supported. I mean, it's close to Portland, so we get a lot of the kind of the hometown supporters that come out. But the sponsors are also hosting aid stations.
Yep.
Freetrail is hosting aid stations. So between it really just takes so much anxiety away from my team, knowing that we're having the same folks that have been a sponsor still hosting the same aid station. They know exactly what to do.
Yeah.
It just makes it so much more. It just builds our confidence to be able to again go back to growing the event, because we have this rock solid base of volunteers and sponsors to help us do it. So, what was you had another question?
TKO.
TKO, yeah. The Trail Keepers of Oregon has been the beneficiary of our event. They're a nonprofit. They do stewardship work throughout Oregon, but especially in the Gorge. They started here in the Gorge and Mount Hood. We've been able to incrementally increase our donation to them. This event would have never been able to take place if it weren't for their efforts, because they did almost all of the trail work throughout the Columbia River Gorge after the fires in 2017 to bring these trails back. So I definitely owe this event to them.
Yeah.
And they more than earn any amount that we could possibly donate to them.
Yeah.
And we actually have a cool campaign going that went out in the racer email where we've agreed to our donation. So what we wanted to do was put out a match campaign, and from the proceeds of this race, we're donating $5,000, and basically that will be a match for anyone throughout this week and throughout the spring. If they want to donate, our contribution is a match.
Yeah.
So $10,000 donation potentially. So that'd be pretty cool.
We'll find a way to share that link out if people feel compelled to share. But yeah, just to add a finer point to it, if it wasn't totally obvious, this race started in 2011, disappeared after the 2017 version because of this fire, didn't exist from 2018 until 2022 when we bought it from James and brought it back to life, moved it here to Cascade Locks, and ushered in a new generation. It is because of TKO, Jeremy, Aaron, his brother back there, who do millions of hours of work themselves to make all this possible for our runners this weekend. So big round of applause for Jeremy, Aaron, Daybreak Racing, and TKO. Thank you, buddy.
Thanks, buddy.
I'm going to close things down with just a little bit of a monologue, mostly meant for the digital audience. Who's running the 30K tomorrow? Couple people in here. So this is meant for you guys too. I know some of you know what you're getting yourselves into, but tomorrow, 10 a.m. starts the 30K. It kicks off race weekend. And you got, Ryan, you have this up? Ryan's going to put the course graphic up on the screen here for our digital audience so people can understand what I'm talking about. Like Jeremy said, is this our third year doing the 30K? Third year doing the 30K. So we added this as sort of a shorter distance option for folks who wanted to come join us. You can tell on screen here if you're watching, 17.73 miles, about 3,000 feet of climbing. I think the course record times, last year Matt Daniels ran 1:55 to win the race. Rachel Drake ran 2:17. Those are our standing course records. So we'll see if there's opportunity for our great athletes to be challenging those tomorrow. As you'll notice on the course profile, it's, what they call whatever they say, death by 1,000 cuts. No major, massive climbs, all very runnable, but relentlessly twisty, turny, and uppy, downy. So it's not a super fast course, even though it is totally runnable. We do have very impressive professional fields showing up. I'm just going to rattle off a couple of names before we wind down here today. On the women's side, Anna Gibson, Christina Randrup, Hillary Allen's just jumping in, the whole Brooks squad coming in. Kristen Schindler, I wanted to give a shout out to. She came and marked the course with us on Thursday, and she's going to be racing on Saturday too. On the men's side, a bunch of, sort of regional talent. David McKay from Hood River, Reese Desmond from North Vancouver, BC, Michael Eaton from Seattle, Peter Baxter from Portland, Todd Simpson from Bend, a Daybreak regular, Nico Lightbody, who came to the Shakeout Run today in Portland. So a lot of good athletes who will be taking the start line tomorrow at 10 a.m. Jeremy, what time do the buses leave here tomorrow? 9 a.m. sharp from right across the street. If you're running the 30K, that'll take you to the start line at the Wakena Day Use area tomorrow. We are going to be back here in studio at 4:30. So if you want to come back, we're going to do a 30K recap. We are going to do some champions interviews with whoever wins out there tomorrow. And then we're going to do the 100K deep preview where we're going to be prognosticating some of the characters who are on stage with us here today, how things might unfold for those red, white, and blue tickets on Saturday. Leah Yingling is going to be my co-host throughout race weekend. She's on her way now, so it won't just be me up here monologuing. I will have a very qualified and talented co-host. Very excited for Leah to be here. And before we go, a big thank you to the team behind the scenes. Ryan Thrower, Jacob Meyer. Where's Harmony? Is Harmony here too? Harmony Bowman. My lovely wife. Thank you to our great sponsors, Speedland, our title sponsor here at Gorge Waterfalls. Never Second, the best nutrition products in the world. They're going to be well stocked at all your aid stations. So a big thank you to the sponsors for supporting our races as well. If you're watching digitally, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Didn't forget, right? Thank you very much. Thank you all for coming out in person, or if you're watching us digitally,